This Hangout on Air is live. In fact, we're doing it for Haley because it's, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning for Haley, but she's up with us. So we're going on live early. And plus, Ghibli's can't figure out what time it starts. So we're going to start it off. What am I drinking, Steve?
That would be a Ballast Point Longfin Lager.
In a Mustang Cafe cup, right? When I got all those brand new Ballast Point mugs?
They hadn't been washed yet to be put in the freezer for the coldest beer possible.
Okay, there we go. All right, we are live. I just started early because I was ready and everybody else was ready. So far, we have Donald and Steve and Brett and Kevin and Dan and Haley, Ghibli's, which is Lindsay, my daughter, and Nuris and Rose and Sandy and another Steve.
I don't know if you started the iOS app.
I did not start the iOS app. I am a deadbeat. And now I am live on the iOS app so that Dan can hear me. And Nuris. Sorry about that, kids. I'm ready now. NASA Nut, John is here. Where would we get Ballast Point mugs? Actually, I call them mugs. They're pint glasses. You can, I know you can get them in the physical store, but I don't know if you can order them online. Can you?
I bet I know someone who might know that.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe Ghibli's could tell us.
All right. Let me go ahead and do 1 a.m. there for Haley. That's what she said. Oh, that's not too bad. Actually, on New Year's, Steve and I stayed up, set a goal of staying up until New York hit midnight, between 9 p.m. I told Bart that, and he just said, amateurs. I liked it. All right.
Oh, Lindsay responded, resident expert says, yes, you can order those Ballast Point pint glasses online, on the online store.
Ooh.
Excellent.
She knows a guy, you know. Yeah. 03, there we go. Ooh, I got to start a new folder for 2016. That's very exciting. Right. Let's see. I'm using my new boom arm. Steve got me a Heil boom arm. So in theory, this can be quieter as I go like this to it, right? No, that's not quieter. But if I move it around like this, ooh, doesn't make noise. It used to go spring whenever I moved it. But I think if I do this, I still make noise. A little bit. Maybe not as bad. Yeah, we ended up making it till 10:30, Haley. So that was pretty good. Oh, you shared FaceTime New Year's Eve with Elaine and Mike. That's neat. We did that with Don and Barbara once. It was pretty fun. They were outside in Liverpool. They were outside in their yard, people throwing off firecrackers and stuff. John is saying the video is not available on Google Plus.
Well, it's coming. Let me check. Is anyone else not seeing it on Google Plus, or?
Yeah. I believe I am live.
Well, you're definitely live because I'm picking you up on AGR. And
yeah, but AGR is dependent on NosillaCast, not on the Hangout. Oh, no, it is the Hangout on Air.
It pulls the Hangout on Air, and your webpage pulls it.
Okay, Kevin can see it. All right, so John is having technical difficulties.
Well, if you can't see it at our Google Plus page, John, you could go to podfeet.com/live because it's.
By the way,
it's showing there.
He can't hear you if he can't hear you, right?
All right, let me type it in.
Yeah, that might be better. All right, I'm going to do a little test recording here. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. See how that sounds. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Wow, that sounds really different. Steve, can you come here and listen to this?
It sounded good here, but I'll come over.
No, I know, but that's completely different.
Okay.
All right. I got a new interface for my microphone, and I've got it on a preset that sounds kind of compressed to me, but let's hear. Let's see what he thinks.
Okay.
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
I think it's fine.
Okay, but it's way different.
I think it sounds good. It's
compressed. I mean, like compressor compressed. It doesn't sound different to you? Really? Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast hosted. Wow, that sounds way different to me. All right, well, Steve says it's fine. So if it sounds weird to anybody, we'll find out. Oh, Terry's here. Oh, Terry had big leg surgery. Yikes, big mess, but he's got some good pain meds, so he's really funny to mess with. I was messing with him last night. Let's see, since we started, we've picked up Kiwi Spoon too for Kiwi Spoon. Also, haven't seen you in a long time. Nice to see you. And Mac Lurker's here. Let's see, we already said hi to John, and Sandy's in the house. Sandy, start up a big food fight about my blog post when we get into it. Some people, we're getting a lot of feedback on that already, but you guys will hear it in just a second. Oh, don't worry, Haley. My new interface, I got a cough button, so we'll be fine. It does sound different, huh? Good. So somebody's got high fidelity hearing, Steve. All right, Steve, you're going to have to.
What setting are you on?
I'm on the podcast setting.
And are there any other settings, like sub podcast settings? Like
no, it's just 5 buttons. So this is how I'll change it. Let's see. This is how I recorded last week. This is I did it, or whatever you heard in Chit Chat. This is the guitar setting, and now this is the iPod setting. I don't know what this setting says.
That's more muffled.
I think that's the flat one. And then this is podcast again.
I think that's fine.
This is singing.
Please don't. Please don't.
Okay. No, Mom, no one does. All right. This is back to the podcast one, too. Sounds a little muffled compared to Steve. Yeah. Let me see what hang on. Okay, this is the flat one. I want to hear what this sounds like. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast hosted at podfeet.com. What are you laughing at? Sing it, girl. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast hosted at podfeet.com. Yeah, that sounds much more like what I'm used to. But we'll go to this one now. Try that again. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast hosted at podfeet.com. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast hosted at podfeet.com. I don't know, it's got kind of a radio sound to it.
It's that NPR sound, right?
See, Sandy says I was getting sort of a tiny echo before. This is clearer, so I don't know which one she means. I love it, Dan says. All right, we're gonna go with the new podcast setting for this episode anyway and see what people say. Hopefully that isn't. Now I'm confused. Kevin, you're always confused. All right, here we go. Mute yourself, Steve. Goodbye. All right. Oh, wait, I have a mute button. Ha. See, you don't have to hear me cough anymore.
I heard you from the other room, though.
Okay, mute. Goodbye, Steve. Here we go. Oh, you want to hear more about the interface? Yeah, I'm going to do a review of it, so we will talk about it. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, January 3rd, 2016, and this is show number 556. Well, it's that time of the year again, time to troop off to CES in Las Vegas for the week. I know people complain a lot about it. Steve and I had a blast last year. We loved doing all the interviews, learning all about the cool new stuff that may or may not ever come to pass. We also get to hang out with Chuck Joyner and Dave Hamilton, which is a lot of fun. And so, it's fun to catch up with old friends. By the way, if you're wondering why I don't mind announcing that I'm going to be away from home for a few days, it's because we have a fiercely loyal TSA agent who stays at our house while we're gone and takes care of the kittens too. Tessa gets to go to our friend Nancy's house. She calls it Camp Nancy. Nancy calls it that. Tessa can't talk. Don't be ridiculous. Anyway, Tessa loves it there, so we won't even feel guilty. I'm relatively certain there won't be a chit chat across the pond next week, but who knows? Maybe I'll find somebody fun to interview for longer than the 3-minute spots we do in the NosillaCast in our broad-based interviews. Last week, on Chit Chat Across the Pond, we had Bart back on the show. He wasn't doing a programming by stealth segment, but it was still pretty nerdy. He taught me how to write a Perl script that I could embed inside Text Expander so that I could create what he calls pretty Markdown or HTML links. Instead of long, gloppy looking links, now I can easily embed links in the show notes that simply say the domain followed by a slash and 3 dots. So it kind of indicates that there's more to it than what you see, and yet doesn't have the long, gloppy URL in it. Very cool lesson. And of course, Bart has a detailed tutorial on it over at bartb.ie. All right. Oh, Sybil's back. Who's talking to me? Uh-oh. Got another email on that blog post. All right. We have fun news now. We're going to do this one first. All right. So you can go away and you can hide there. All right. All right. Let's get that right there. Looks good. All right. I was first, Podfeet? Was that on? Oh, he must be talking about on the blog post. Yes, you were. I'm going to need that tutorial. Thanks to Bart. Yeah, it's really good. Oh, Lindsay says, I'm surprised you didn't mention how many emails. If you're lonely and you want more email, you really want to sign up for CES and give me your email address. At one point, I was getting about 10 an hour. It was pretty fun. All right. Well, I've got a really fun update for you about long-term NosillaCast Honda Bob. And in addition to that, he sent along a review of the new battery case from Apple for the iPhone 6 and 6S. Let me bring everybody up to speed first on who Honda Bob is. For many years, I advertised for Honda Bob's mobile service. His service is that he drives your house to fix your Hondas and Acuras. Now, this is probably the most ridiculous thing to advertise for on an international podcast, since the service was only in about a 100-mile radius of where I live. It became kind of a signature silly thing about the NosillaCast, though, and for no apparent reason, people started creating their own ads for Honda Bob. Now, these aren't people who actually knew Bob, but kind of just got into the spirit of how silly all this was. I remember when Justin Byrne and David Shortle of the Mac Crack podcast were in California visiting from Ireland. When they found out that Honda Bob was here, they both begged to come over to my house to meet him. Katie Floyd from the Mac Power Users was in town from Florida, and she was thrilled to get to meet him as well. It really was this odd thing, but the NosillaCast is a little different from other shows. Well, the ads got funnier and funnier, and we started referring to him as the internationally known Honda Bob. The only way that could go up a notch was when Nightwise of the Nightwise podcast did an entire ad in the voice of a Klingon war commander. We had to change Honda Bob's title to the intergalactically famous Honda Bob. Anyway, after all that fun got played out, Honda Bob started sending in reviews from time to time. Unfortunately, Honda Bob got a disease called, see if I can pronounce this, myelodysplasia syndrome. It's not cancer, but rather a rare blood disease that caused his body to simply stop creating new blood cells. He had dozens of transfusions, but the only cure was to get a bone marrow transplant. His 2 siblings got tested, and while they were perfect matches for each other, yay them, they were not a match for Bob. I put out the call months ago to the NosillaCastaways asking that you guys please register with the Bone Marrow Registry. The great news is that a young man in Germany was a 95% match for Honda Bob. I like to think it might have been a NosillaCastaway, but most people register not knowing whose life they'll be lucky enough to save. Can you imagine how exciting it is to be able to do that? Well, here's the best part of the story. After taking chemo to kill his own bone marrow, on November 23rd, Bob had the bone marrow transplant, and as of today, his blood is 98.95% donor blood. Within a very short time, his body was generating new blood cells, and he was on the road to recovery. I'm happy to report that Bob is back home and exercising and getting stronger every day. He said his blood type used to be A positive, but it's O positive now, and his eyes seem to have just a tint of green now. And he's bald as a cue ball from the chemo. He's supposed to have the allergies of the donor and to have lost his own allergies. So he says he might be able to play with our kittens now. Isn't that crazy to think of getting a new blood type and somebody else's allergies? It's wild. Well, I told him I wanted to celebrate this with all of you, and while he's happy with that, he asked me to keep encouraging people to register when they give blood or go over to bethematch.org, because there's a lot of lives to be saved by this very simple procedure. I'm registered, and I sure hope I get to be picked someday. Well, anyway, I promised that he wrote up a review for us, and he says his voice is too crackly right now, so he asked me to read it to you. Here's what he wrote. Hello, this is Honda Bob, but you can call me Bob Hebert. Sounds weird to call him that, but okay. That's his real name. Today I will review the Apple battery pack case for the iPhone 6. I got me a new iPhone 6 for Christmas and wanted a battery pack like the Mophie juice pack I had for my iPhone 5. I ordered the battery pack on December 24th, and 3 days later it was delivered. I installed it immediately and got a message on the start screen with the battery percentage on the case and iPhone. The case was at 54% and the phone was at 100%. I plugged into the lightning connector into the case. Full charging took about 24 hours. I then took it off the charger and watched the percentage often. Now, this can actually be done by swiping down from the start screen, which, as you know, brings up the notification screen. It is now the 31st and the case is at 0% and the phone is at 80%. During this time, the phone was not idle. I was checking emails and Facebook often, as well as monitoring my wireless cameras. I also played several dozen games of solitaire, as well as a couple hours of blackjack. The fit and finish of the case is flawless. The phone slips right in and connects to the lightning connector. The case is rubber coated so it won't slip out of your pocket. Its capacity is 1877 milliamp hours. It's about a half inch thick and fits in your palm nicely. The case can be charged separately. The status light on the front illuminates when it is fully charged. When the phone is in the case, the phone charges first, then the case. All in all, this is a very fine addition to the Apple accessory lineup. It's $99 and I would highly recommend it. Thank you. Well, thank you, Honda Bob, for giving us that review. And I am just so delighted, could not be happier that your bone marrow transplant went along flawlessly. Marianne is here. All right. We got 2 Kiwis now. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Yeah. So Marianne is the professor that's been on the show a few times. If you didn't catch her name, how exciting! It's really weird the way the time zones change, because normally you think, okay, everybody shifts by an hour, even if we shift at a different time, but they go in the opposite direction in New Zealand. So it's let's see if I can do the math. I think it is 5 minus 3 is 2:15 p.m. on Monday at her house.
You were looking at the chat room.
Did she say no? But I knew that because I figured it out yesterday.
That is unbelievable. You really got time zone calculation correct. Were you looking at?
That's only because right now I know they're 3 hours.
Okay.
Well, I could also just swipe to the right with my 4 fingers and see what time it is there, or I could click on my what is the thing we use? Menu meters, and that says it is 2:15 p.m. in New Zealand. So I have many ways. Oh yeah, you do owe me a correspondence. Oh, you owe Marianne a correspondence. Hey. Since you're homesick anyway, Terry, now you can do that review for me too. I'm kidding. It's fine. You don't have to send it to me. Nobody really cares. Okay, let's see. What is next up? That Honda Bob story was good. All right, we got to talk about my Olympus zoom lens. Oh, man, I wrote too much for the blog today, for the show. Okay, actually, I'm going to grab it. Hang on one second. It's packed. You knew I'd get there, Terry. Of course I did. Yeah, 2 Kiwis and an Aussie. That is kind of interesting. We've got a lot of down under here. So I'm going to be talking about this lens, and I'm going to try to hold it still for the camera for a second. Do you see that dial? I'm going to be talking about that dial a little bit. And then I'm going to be talking about that meter, which is probably upside down to you. You probably would rather see it like this. That's probably. So I'm going to be trying to understand what that is about. Ooh, there you go. Ooh, that autofocus worked.
Now it is upside down, but it's focused.
Oh, it was right set up at first?
Yeah. Try again.
All right, let's try it right side up and get the autofocus to kick in. That autofocus is good. Yeah. And then, so I don't know, is this right side up then for that? If I hold still?
Yes. That's good.
Don't talk. You're taking away from the picture. Okay. So now you guys saw it. Who cares about cameras? Where are the kittens?
Maybe I need to go get them.
No, not right now. They have to listen to more show before they can get that. All right. Kittens. All right. Okay. Yeah, time scroller for the win, Rose. Absolutely. Good. Ghibli wants to see the kittens too. Sandy wants to see Tesla. You guys don't really care whether I'm here or not, do you? It's irrelevant. All All right, let's put that right where it belongs. Okay. Here we go. When I had a giant digital SLR, I only used one lens. It was a terrific wide angle to big zoom, the equivalent of 28 to 300 millimeters. It was so versatile, I basically never took it off. Now, I did buy other lenses like a nifty 50, also known as a 50 millimeter equivalent, because all the cool kids had them. Photography is kind of like that. You hear about a lens and then you need that lens. You may not know why you do, but you know you do. I hardly ever used my 50 millimeter lens. Took beautiful photos and was super fast, so I could take pictures in low light, but the focal length just didn't really work for me. I loved it for portraits, but I had to be right in people's faces to get a good shot, so they usually had this look of horror on their face because I was so close to them. But the bokeh was beautiful. When I got my mirrorless camera, the Olympus EM10, I bought a lens much like it, the Tamron 28 to 300 millimeter equivalent. I keep saying equivalent, by the way, because that's equivalent in 35 millimeter. I absolutely love the Tamron 28 to 300 lens. All of the versatility of my old lens, but at less than half the weight and about 40% of the volume. I didn't need any other lenses. But one day in a bored moment, I went out looking at the wire cutter to see what kind of lenses I might want. Did I talk about this already, you guys?
What are you talking about? We're actually not paying attention.
The Olympus lens.
I don't recall. Maybe you did a preliminary.
No, I don't think I did. Okay.
Oh, Marianne says yes.
Oh, shut up. Blah, blah, 35 millimeter, blah, blah. Okay, good. You're a big help. Did I talk about it? I don't recall. Okay.
I'll do a quick search.
It's not in the show notes, so. What lens? Too much camera, not a. Who invited her? Cutter to see what kind of lenses I might want. When I had a giant. No. Shh. I'm going to blame Stephen Getz for this because he probably made me go over to the wire cutter. He loves making me spend money on camera gear. If you haven't used the wire cutter before, I can highly recommend it. Think of it as like the modern day Consumer Reports. If you need a dishwasher, a bicycle, a camera, a lawnmower, they're going to tell you, get this one. Instead of just reviewing items, and they do that too, you don't have to go read about every one of them. They just call through all the other reviews and the ones they've done, and they simply tell you, buy this one. They tell you why, and then they suggest, hey, don't have a lot of money? Here's a cheaper one if you want. And if you're made of money, here's one that's more expensive and even better. I discovered by reading the wire cutter that the lens I really wanted was a portrait lens. These are around 90 millimeter equivalent and give that lovely shallow depth of field in a portrait that I was looking for, but I could get far enough away that I wasn't in people's faces. I bought the Olympus M Zuiko Digital ED 45 millimeter f1.8 that they recommended, and it's fabulous. I love this lens. It's so light, so sharp, fabulous depth of field. I've actually talked about it before. But now it was time to make my Christmas list for 2015. So I went back to the wire cutter to pick out something else. Next to people portraits, my next favorite thing is taking macro shots. One trick Bart taught me was that I could use my telephoto lens to achieve the macro effect, and that works well. But I couldn't get close enough to the subject. The closest focal distance on the Tamron 14 to 150 is almost 20 inches, so the subject of my macro shot would be pretty small in the photo. The wire cutter recommended for micro four thirds cameras, the Olympus MSC ED why does it have all that in it? Anyway, the 60 millimeter f2.8 lens from Olympus. And Steve got me one for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. We talked about the nearly 20 inches away I could get with my regular zoom lens. This macro lens can get up to 7.4 inches away from the subject. It's very small, and yet surprisingly, it's very long. It's 2.25 inches in diameter and 3.25 inches long. Like all of the micro four thirds lenses, it's incredibly light. It only weighs 0.41 pounds. Now, a true macro lens can get you so close that you get a 1-to-1 magnification of the subject. I had to write to Stephen Getz to get some help understanding exactly what this means. He sent me a link to an article on DP Review that I've actually, of course, put in the show notes that helped me understand. It sounds obvious, but it confused me at first. It seemed to me that the size of the object in the image would be dependent on the resolution with which you view the photo. Turns out it's not 1-to-1 in the photo, it's 1-to-1 on the sensor itself. If you're photographing a 1-inch object, it would be 1 inch on the sensor. Now, that still confused me because I don't have a sensor that's that big, so how does that make sense? The author of the DP Review article explained that your sensor will simply crop the image, not change its scale. This means that a 1-to-1 macro lens is completely independent of the size of the sensor in your camera. If you want a much better and more detailed explanation of the magnification, of course, go check out that link in the show notes. All right, so I've got this swell new lens that does 1-to-1. How do I make it do that? On the side of the Olympus 60mm lens is this very unusual dial. Unusual to me, maybe other lenses have this, but I've never seen it before. The dial shows a default position that says 0.19 meters to infinity. It's highlighted in white, so you can tell that's the default. Our first clue to what this dial does is that 0.19 meters, because it just happens to be the same as 7.4 inches, which we know is the closest we can focus. There are 3 other positions. One says 0.4 meters to infinity, 0.19 meters to 0.4 meters, and 1-to-1. Luckily, the lens came with a manual, which was completely worthless in explaining this dial. I went to the Googles and I found out that by setting the distance to one of these ranges, it allows the camera to focus much more quickly because it doesn't have to check the whole distance from 0 to infinity. So if your object is between 0.19 and 0.4 meters, why bother checking all those other distances first? I'm not sure why it's such weird numbers, but hey. In practice, I have been able to focus very quickly and accurately. I mean, amazing compared to my other lenses. I've taken a lot of shots of butterflies and caterpillars this summer, and sometimes I'd have to step back like 3 feet to get autofocus to even acquire the bug I was looking for, and then slowly walk closer as it focused in. With this macro lens set properly, it finds the subject immediately. I mean, it's fantastic. Okay, now we've got that 1-to-1 setting, which is handled differently on the dial. Before I explain how it works, I got to tell you, there's another indicator on the lens that I need to explain. On the top of the lens is a curved glass area with a red line, and it jumps up and down, showing you the magnification you're achieving. Okay, the dial goes from 1-to-1. The second setting says 1 to 1.3. Then it says 1.2 to 1.4. Okay. Well, anyway, it has, or I guess, it's 3 of them. 1 to 1.3, 1 to 1.2. No, I'm getting this wrong. We're going to do it one more time. There's 1-to-1, 1 to 1.3, 1 to 2, and 1 to 4. I don't know why you need to know that. Anyway, it has corresponding distances in both inches and meters on the right. I'm not sure why this is valuable to you if you're using the viewfinder, because this thing is on top of the lens, but maybe real macro photographers use a tripod and the display flipped up so they can look down on both the indicator and the screen at the same time. Anyway, back to the dial. If you rotate it to 1-to-1, it flips itself back immediately to 0.9 to 0.4 meters. Okay, so it's sort of like you said, I want 1-to-1, but then it ignores you. But you can see that indicator on top of the lens jump to 1-to-1 and it sticks there. Evidently, this is like a one-shot deal because it sticks there until you take a photo. As soon as you take the photo, it jumps back to moving around on the distance. Okay. Well, now here's the cool part. You autofocus the camera by moving the camera closer and farther away from the subject. Not sure that really makes sense, though. This is getting really, really kind of confusing. But the good news is I got a great shot of a monarch butterfly caterpillar where you can actually see the hairs on his feet. It's really cool. Anyway, I put a link in the show notes on Flickr to the image. I have a small version of the photo in the show notes, but I also put a link to the full-size image in Flickr so you can see all the way to those little hairs on his feet. All right, I think I understand 1-to-1 and how to force the lens to it, and I understand the indicator tells me I've temporarily forced it, but like I said, for the life of me, I don't know why I care about the other magnification factors. Why would I care whether it's 1 to 1.3 or 1 to 2 or 1 to 4? I am sure that a clever NosillaCastaway or two will tell me why. The ads for the lens say, built-in working distance window for subject distance confirmation. All right. Anyway, the macro lens is an f2.8, which is pretty fast, but it's not so fast that it'll break the bank, and it lacks image stabilization, but that's fine because the Olympus OMD EM10 has that built into the body, so I don't need image stabilization in the lens. That is one of the things of these Olympus Micro Four Thirds cameras. Their image stabilization is amazing. So the Olympus MSC EDM 60mm f2.8 lens is $399 on Amazon. And of course, there's an affiliate link in Amazon to that. I am in love with it. I put my favorite photo so far from it at the top of the show notes. I call it self-portrait. It's a photo of Kyle's eyeball filling the entire image with my reflection in his pupil. It's creepy and fantastic.
So Chuck has arrived at CES and he's wondering where we are.
Well, tell him to go.
I told him there's dedication here. You're having to do your live show.
Okay. Tell him to go get onto the Telegram though.
That's how I heard it.
Oh, good. He's on Telegram?
He's on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. There's that one. And I got to give them the, let's see. Man, this one. Here we go. Got to give them this one too, because I think they need to see the eyeball. Here. Okay. What are we doing now? I wrote too much. How long is the show already? Oh, it's not that long. It's only 18 minutes so far. Okay, that's good. Okay, so the Shure digital interface is next. Okay, here we go. Okay, are you guys ready? Did I miss anything? I have hair on my feet, Kevin. Ew.
George has arrived.
George! It's George from Tulsa. Wow, it is a huge party night. Brett, Kevin, Dan, George. George says hi. I thought it said
Mark.
George.
And Mark.
Oh, Mark, you just missed the whole camera section.
Of course, Marianne had to leave. Probably knew Mark was coming.
Yeah, watch the live show just empty out because Mark showed up. Yeah, Telegram is not very good with voiceover, at least on the Mac. The iOS version doesn't work with voiceover, Dan? That's too bad. Very cool seeing you reflected in Kyle's eyeball. I love that picture. I thought that was super fun. All right, Mark's going to have to actually listen to the podcast to find out my new lens. All right, you know what? It looks like this was a little tight together. Let me listen to this transition. Cutter to see what kind of lenses I might want. I'm going to blame... Wow, that's so. A little quick. Get the wire cutter to see what kind of lenses I might want. I'm going to blame Stephen Getz for this because he probably made me go over to... Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Never mind. That's in the same... That's so tight because that's in the same segment. That's just this one. For giving us that review, and I am just so delighted, could not be happier that your bone marrow transplant went along flawlessly. When I had a giant digital SLR, I only used one lens. It was a terrific... All right. My voice sounds really weird on the show.
Something just changed.
It did?
Your volume, are you closer to the mic?
I have not moved.
Okay, maybe I changed your volume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hope so. Anybody else hear it change?
I think that was me.
All right. Did you say anything interested in the chat? Oh, that's when you told me Marianne was here. All right. One of my goals in producing the podcast is to make sure that you hear good quality audio. A second goal is to provide that quality audio with as little hassle on my end as possible. I have a very nice microphone, the Heil PR40, which Steve bought me a few years ago. It's a high-end mic with what's called an XLR interface. This is a circular connector with 3 large pins. Traditionally, you would plug this kind of mic into a mixer. As I've mentioned before, I used to have a mixer, and while I felt like a big girl with it, I found it to be a real hassle in many ways. Now remember, goal number 2 is to minimize my hassle. I got rid of the mixer, and I switched over to a Blue Icicle USB interface. This is a cylindrical converter that takes the XLR from the mic on one end and converts it to USB on the other end so you can plug it right into your Mac or PC, I suppose. I used that for years, but the volume control knob on it was a bit finicky, and Steve actually wanted it for his Heil PR20, so I went on the hunt for a new interface. 2 years ago, I switched to the Shure X2U interface, which had a better gain control slider and had the advantage of a monitor port so I could plug my headphones into the interface instead of my computer. A monitor port like this allows me to hear myself, so if I'm peaking, in theory, it would be able to adjust things while I'm recording. There's also a light on the X2U that should be green, unless you're peaking, in which case it turns red. This worked very well for me. But then last year, we went to CES and I interviewed the folks at Shure, and they indicated that they had a new lineup of products coming out. The one that struck my fancy was the Shure MVI digital audio interface. Like the 2 interfaces I had before, it takes an XLR input and converts it to USB so I can plug it into my Mac without a mixer. Unlike the other two, instead of a cylinder that hangs on my boom arm, this is a small block that sits on my desk rather than that cylinder. There are pros and cons to this. I lose desk space because of this, but my boom arm doesn't have to hold up the fairly heavy interface. Another con is that with my headphones plugged into the monitor port on the back of the MVI, the cord for the headphones has a tendency to lay across my trackpad. That makes the trackpad go wild, and it's not a huge deal, but it always confuses me for a minute or two why my cursor's moving all over the place. When I used the Blue Icicle, I could use the software called Shush to mute myself if I needed to cough. But for some reason, the Shure X2U didn't work with Shush. The main reason I wanted to get the Shure MVI was that it had a mute switch right on the device. Well, Steve bought me the Shure MVI for Christmas. You guys noticing a pattern of how much fun stuff he buys me? Anyway, I'm really, really happy with it. If you listen to Chit Chat Across the Pond with Bart this week, you will not have heard a single cough. And yet I had a cold and I coughed many times during that recording. I'm loving having a mute button already, and you should be happy about that too. The Shure MVI has a lot more going for it than I realized. The interface is by touch with no physical buttons, so do not buy this device if you are blind. You will not be able to use it. But for me, it works reasonably well. Actually, remember I said don't use it, but there is a use case where you could, and I'll come back to that. Anyway, on the front of the little block, on the left side is the mute button, and across the bottom, there's a series of lights that show the input volume as you're talking. It's not true. Remind me to edit at 3:15 because I made a mistake and I don't know how to pause and stop and pick that up. Actually, I can. Nah. What did I say? 3:15, right? This will be the first time I've edited in the middle of a show. Remember that I said that, and it's not actually quite true. If you're blind, there is a use case. Anyway, on the left-hand side is mute, and across the bottom, there's a series of lights that show the input volume. There's a touch slider thing across the bottom to move that input volume up and down. It's a little bit herky-jerky in my opinion. I have to kind of stroke it several times with my finger to get it to dramatically move up and down, and I'd like it better if I could just stroke to the exact position I want and stop, and it would just stop there. On the opposite side from the mic mute button is a headphone button, and toggling that allows that slider I just described to change to the volume of the monitor port. It changes the colors of the lights across the bottom from green to orange, so you're reminded which one you're controlling and looking at. That's a real nice feature. In the center, there are preset buttons, which I only discovered while writing the review for this device. Probably should have read up on it more before I used it last week. The presets are for speech and podcasting. I love that podcasting is mainstream now. Singing, quiet and acoustic music, loud music or band, and flat. I think I recorded last week using the quiet and acoustic music setting. I'll be curious if you can tell the difference now that I have it set to podcasting. I can tell the difference. We'll see whether you like it better or not. The main thing I would change on the MVI is the coloring of these controls. The face is a very dark gray, and the icons for the controls are tiny and in medium gray. Except in bright lighting, you simply cannot see the icons at all. At my desk in the evening, I do not have light coming from behind me, so I simply have to rely on my memory to make sure I'm tapping the right icon. Luckily, when you choose them, a bright LED lights up next to the icon, so if you memorize the positions, you'll be okay. On the back of the MVI, there's an XLR input, a micro USB connector to connect it to your computer, and a headphone jack. But there's another cool feature. The XLR connector has this in the center of it, a hole that will take a 1/4-inch instrument plug. That means you could connect, for example, a guitar or keyboards to the MVI to do a recording. This is incredible for such a tiny portable device. By the way, let's see, Joe Hecht, after reading this review that I'm talking to you about right now, asked about phantom power, and it says PHPWR on the bottom, so I think that means phantom power. All right, let's take this up another notch. The Shure MVI comes with a cable I have never seen before. It's micro USB on one end and 9-pin lightning connector on the other end. This means that you can plug your big girl XLR mic into the MVI and then record right into an iPad or an iPhone. Very, very cool. You better mark that unique cable, though, so you don't lose it. Shure has a free app for iOS called Shure Plus Motive Mobile Recording App. By the way, Motive is spelled M-O-T-I-V. You know, not allowed to use a lot of vowels in the internet. All right, anyway, I downloaded the Motive app to my iPad and iPhone to test this out. I connected my Heil PR40 to the MVI, then micro USB to Lightning on the iPad, and I was ready to record. Get this, the MVI draws its power right from your iOS device, so you're not a slave to power outlets. I wonder if that's what phantom power means, is it's able to pull power through that cable. Anyway, I left it plugged in for a while and monitored my iPad Pro battery, and it dropped by about 1% in 15 minutes. I think the two devices do good power management between them because when left idle after a while, the lights went off on the MVI. I assumed the MVI would draw more power from the iPad if I was doing recording that entire time. The Shure Plus Motive app looks pretty simple at first, but it has some advanced features that I'll get to in a minute. You can use the iOS app with any microphone, even the internal mic, but the advanced features won't be available to you until you plug in a Motive device. They start off with some instructions for using their MV88 Lightning mic, which also looks really cool. I might need that, Steve. But you can skip past that and go right into the app. You get a really nice levels meter, a pull down to choose your sample rate. I choose to use 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz, and then there's a big red record button. Shure Plus Motive records as an uncompressed WAV file, so you might be worried about how much space you have on your iOS device. You wouldn't want to run out before your recording was done, right? Well, there's a lovely little text line that tells you the time left. Mine currently said 15 hours and 50 minutes left, so I wasn't too worried. There's a hamburger icon in the upper right that lets you view your recordings and get to the advanced settings I mentioned earlier. With a digital Motive device attached, like the MVI I've been talking about, you get a lot more control. In the app, I can change the presets I mentioned that are on the physical device, like choosing podcasting versus guitar. I can adjust the mic gain and turn on a limiter. A limiter is useful to ensure that you don't peak in your recording. I do this in Audio Hijack on my Mac, but this is very cool to have it in the app on iOS. You can also turn on an audio compressor and adjust it from light to heavy. By the way, I mentioned that maybe you could use this device if you were blind. Using the app, it's actually changing what I'm seeing on the little display on the MVI itself. So if this is VoiceOver compatible, you might be able to use this device for iOS while it wouldn't work well for the Mac. Anyway, I always seem to have low mic levels, so I'll probably use the plus 20 dB mic gain boost they include. They suggest you keep your levels between minus 12 and minus 6 dB, but without the boost, I simply can't get it that high. Finally, in the Shure Plus Motive app, there's an adorable little 5-band equalizer. Once you're done recording, you name it, and it saves it in the app, but you can also save to camera roll, which is an interesting place, send it via messages or mail, or you can save it to Dropbox. There's a More button inviting you to attach more services to this menu. I'll probably use Dropbox myself. I mentioned earlier that the Shure Plus Motive records in an uncompressed WAV file, but at this point in the menus, you can convert it to Apple lossless or 256 kilobit per second AAC file right within that save menu. It doesn't overwrite the original file, but rather creates a second file with a name that tells you the format. It worked flawlessly in my tests. I'm going to let you listen to a recording done on my iPad Air. I'm sorry, I said iPad Air. It was my iPad Pro with the Heil PR40, and I had transferred it via Dropbox. Other than the obvious cold in my nose, see if it sounds any different than my regular recording setup. Okay, we'll stop there, but now we got to go find where I botched that recording. Here we go. I think it's right here. Oh, actually, remember I said don't use it, but there is a use case. I think that's it right there. Okay, I've never edited like this live, so you're going to bear with me. Reflection in his pupil. It's creepy. Oh, shoot. No, where was I? I was here. Anyway, on the front of the little block, on the left side is the mute button. And across the bottom, there's a series of lights that show the input volume as you're talking. It's not true. Okay, so I think I'm going to want to break there. Hi, this is... Here we go. Remember that I said that, and it's not actually quite true. If you many times during that recording, I'm loving having a mute button already, and you should be happy about that too. The Shure MVI has a lot more going for it than I realized. The interface is by touch with no physical buttons, so do not buy this device if you are blind. You will not be able to use it. But for me, it works. Okay, I think from there to there. See how that sounds. And you should be happy about that too. The Shure MVI has a lot more going for it than I realized. The interface is by touch with no physical buttons, so do not buy this device if you are blind. You will not be able to use it. Remember that I said that, and it's not actually quite true. If you're blind, there is a use case. Anyway, on the left-hand side is... There we go. I did it. Okay, I said to go to the end, and you didn't go to the end. Here we go. Hi, this is... Hey. Go to the end. Hi, this... What are you... Pay attention to me. Regular recording setup. Hi, this is... Oh, I know what's going on. Okay. So now I need to go find that recording. Let's add a track just to make life harder.
Is this the playhead versus insertion head issue?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is. That is exactly what it is. You're going to begin to recognize that complaint, aren't you? All right. So let me see how this looks. All right, let's hear how this sounds. Come on. Okay. Why aren't you playing? Okay. And I transferred it via Dropbox. Other than the obvious cold in my nose, see if it sounds any different than my regular recording setup. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Friday, January 1st, 2016, and this is a test recording. All right, that sounded completely different.
Could you play that once more?
You want to play it right after maybe hearing a little bit of me?
Yeah, just for a comparison. Also, there was a booming at the end, which I assume wasn't the recording, but what's your real times?
Okay, here we go. Different than my regular recording setup. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Friday, January 1st, 2016, and this is a test recording. Okay. Steve?
Yes, good.
Okay.
Kevin was leaving. I had to say bye.
I'm sorry, your little boyfriend was there?
No, big boyfriend.
Sorry. All right, I'm going to put Ryan there. All right. Well, this is funny. It sounded a lot different to me. I am definitely using the podcasting preset on the MVI right now. And now I'm wondering whether I had the podcasting preset on when I did that recording. Anyway, it still sounds really good, right? I thought I was paying $129, or Steve was paying $129, simply for the addition of a mute button for you. But instead, I got a fantastic portable podcasting rig. Check out the Shure MVI digital audio interface, Amazon affiliate link included in the show notes, of course. All right, how did that go? Let's see. Yeah, I thought that might be a little. Let's hear how that is. Hi, Why does it keep going back to the beginning, people? Sorry about the yelling.
Playhead versus insertion head.
I guess. It's a test recording. Well, this is funny. It sounded a lot different to me. I am definitely using... Okay. All right. Let's see. So now, next I need... Oh, man, I wrote too much. Preview. What am I doing next? Oh, yeah, the food fight's going to start now. Thank goodness Kevin is gone. This one. Uh-oh, Tesla's here. Is Ghibli still here?
Okay, Tesla, come over here.
Note it works on computers and Android. Oh, I should have, yeah. Can you see?
Oh, you're behind the mic.
Can you move her? I don't want to mess with the mic. Get her up. Okay, fine. No, I'll move her. Never mind. Okay. She's really dark back there.
She is dark. I need to lift. Now she's going to lay down.
Okay. It's anarchy.
Come here, girl.
I've lost control.
Come here. There we go. There we go. Say something in the mic.
Groan, squeezer. Oh, you sweet little baby face. All right.
That's the Tesla showing.
All right, good. I've lost control. Okay. Well, we're going to do that last bit now. Let's see. How far in are we? Oh, 25 minutes. That's about right. That isn't too much. I always worry it's too much. All right. Here we go. Okay. There's going to be a food fight now. Get ready. All right. All right. Good day, Tesla. How many people can have someone from New Zealand and Australia and San Diego and Oklahoma, all these people say hi to their dog? What dogs get to have said hi to them like that? It's amazing.
Now we've had a kitten request.
Okay, after the last segment, I got to power through. Here we go.
All right, power through.
When I started this podcast, it was all for the love of tech. But over the years, it's become something so much more than that. Steve and I have developed lifelong friendships with people across the globe because of the NosillaCast community. I don't take for granted at all that all the friends we've made, many of whom we've never even met in real life. Several things make the NosillaCast community strong. If I just had, say, an email address or blog comments where you could contribute, most of the conversations would just be many to one, right? You write to me and maybe I write back to you. When I started the live show, I had no idea that it would create friendships between NosillaCastaways that had nothing to do with me. I was a little bit jealous at first, but then I realized this thing has gotten much bigger than me. A while ago, I read an article in Wired about how in the old days, people got together to play games like bridge. They probably still do. And it wasn't really about bridge. It was about getting together on Friday night and having cocktails and singing and maybe playing a bit of bridge. At least that's the way my parents played bridge. The live show is kind of like that. It's a gathering place for friends. My contribution is reduced in importance. In fact, I'm often referred to as that annoying woman talking in the corner. And you know what? I'm cool with that. Then we expanded to have the Google Plus community, podfeed.com/Google Plus. That's more of a technical conversation over there, but I've loved watching the NosillaCastaways helping each other every day. It's handy because I don't always know the answers to your questions, and I say, can you go over to Google Plus and ask that? Anyway, Google Plus is really designed with communities in mind, so it works really, really well for us. There's things that would improve, and the recent user interface overhaul made it harder to use, but the NosillaCastaways community is still a really great place to get help, ask questions, and even show off a little bit. But then there's Facebook. I really don't like Facebook, but I feel like resistance is futile. I feel like it has so much gravity now that I can't stay out of it. I also fear that if we open a community in Facebook, we would add to that gravitational force, right? You don't want to help it get bigger than it is. I also worry that it's hard enough to participate in one community in Google Plus for me and for Steve. Having to pay attention to two communities would be harder. But on the other hand, if the global population is any indicator of our population, expanding it to include Facebook would encourage more people to play. On the other hand, there are a fair number of NosillaCastaways who wouldn't join Facebook if you held a gun to their heads. You know, Bart, Dorothy, George from Tulsa. I think Kevin feels the same way, to name a few. I couldn't and would not kill off the Google Plus community because it's already so much fun that would make any sense. And I really like it. It's growing every day, so I know other people like it. On the 12th hand, every time I post an article or a podcast, I already post it to what I think is a Facebook fan page. I don't know. I made it a long time ago. I don't know what it really is, but I feel like I should keep posting there. But I could kill that off and replace it with a Facebook group. It doesn't have a lot of traction because it's not really designed for interaction, so it's not very fun. I want you guys to be able to talk to each other, not just to me. In fact, I'm not even sure you can talk to me on that fan page. As you've probably figured out, I've been having this argument with myself for quite some time, and I really, really don't want to create a Facebook group, but I bet if I did, it'd be super fun and people would help each other and it would be awesome. I got to ask you, what do you think? If you've never joined the NosillaCast Google Plus group, was it because you don't do Google Plus, but you would participate if it was a Facebook group? Would you think less of me if I created a Facebook group? Should we give it a try and see what happens? I got to tell you, I posted about this. I posted the blog post on this subject maybe an hour before the show, and I think there were 5 or 6 comments already from NosillaCastaways giving their opinions. So do head over to the blog. How about if we do this? Well, you know, post wherever you want, but the Google Plus community is okay too, but you could post on the blog, and then maybe we can take a look and see what that means. I'm afraid we're going to have to do it though, you guys. You know what? Resistance is futile. All right. What is this?
Seems to be an opinionated topic.
Oh, John says there's no gravity. It just sucks. God, that's awesome. Oh, dear. Dan doesn't like Facebook. Sandy doesn't like Facebook. No, I wouldn't lose you, Dorothy. See, that's the thing. I'm not going to lose you because I'm not going to get rid of the Google Plus community. I could keep both, right? Don't you think? No? Oh, post wherever you want, but I'm going to take that last little bit off. And then maybe we can take a look and see what that means. I'm afraid we're going to have to do it though. That last bit.
So Sandy had a concern, which we should voice. When someone started a Facebook group that basically took on a life of its own, obliterating the other chat rooms or communities.
What do you mean?
Like a Google Plus community.
Nobody cared about the other one?
Right. And only supported the Facebook community.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to trust me to not do that, huh?
Both of us.
Yeah, that's the thing. Steve's big on Facebook, so he would certainly help keep it going too. And
no, that's not the concern. It's not keeping Facebook going. It's keeping the Google Plus going. But I think we have enough users that
we could support both on the blog, and then maybe we can take a look and see what that means.
We know that many people don't like Facebook, so we will continue to support the Google Plus community
right
to its fullest.
Okay, let me see. I want to put some.
That's a pledge, right? Pledge right now.
Yes, right. Pledge for the next year. Yeah, Dan, I'm really into Twitter too, but it's not the same kind of interaction. You can't ask a long form question and get tech help that way. You know, it's not quite the same. Let's see. Well, post wherever you. Let me cut that off. I don't know about this audio. It sounds funny to me. Here we go. Post wherever you want, but we'll gather in all the information we can. The live chat room has just caught on fire. Funniest comment in there was John, also known as NASA Nut, said, it isn't, what was it he said? It's not that Facebook has so much gravity, it's that it sucks, which is good too. I really like that. There's been some concern that we would let the Google Plus group languish if we got the Facebook group. And Steve and I make a commitment not to let that happen, let's say for the next year. Let's just put it out there. So, I mean, if Google Plus disappeared and there's one of you still in there, then that wouldn't be what we would keep doing, spending a lot of effort on. But I love it over there. I wouldn't give that up for anything. And especially since there's a lot of people who refuse to use Facebook, I don't see why that would make any sense at all. I'm sort of trying to include more people, not exclude anybody. So that is our solemn pledge till January 3rd. 2017, we will definitely keep it going. And if it's still alive in a happy place and growing and people are having fun, we'll still be in there. How's that? A recorded pledge. Make sure I didn't screw that up. How about if we do this? Post wherever you want, but giving their opinions. So do head over to the blog. How about if we do this? Post wherever. Oh, I cut off part I shouldn't have. How about if we do this? Post wherever you want, but it's a little clumsy, but that's fine. All right. I think we are to the end. All right.
Is it kitten time?
It's all, okay. Kitten time before we close it out. Yes, you can have kittens now. You guys stayed. Like to do something new is going on. Facebook won't do that. I get Facebook notifications, Sandy, from the Mac Geek Gab community. And I used to from the SMR podcast community, but I had to turn it off because I love the guys, but their community is not nice. They're like mean and snotty to each other. I don't know. I didn't like the vibe, so I stopped listening to it. I might post in there. My photo fan page. Oh, yes. Mark and his fan page. Where's those kittens? Steve said I had to wait for kittens. Uh-oh. Here we go.
Just woke up.
Kittens.
A little bit sleepy.
This is Ada and Grace.
Oh, she's slipping.
Uh-oh.
Better sport.
They're too heavy. Oh, my God. I can't hold this. Look at the size of these bellies.
We may have transitioned to cat territory.
I think we've fed these things too much.
They're not even purring now.
No, why aren't they purring? All right. Come on. No, let's go. Enough kittens. Both of them at once, Ghibli says. Yeah, that's a lot to carry. All right. Steve just ran out of the room. I don't know why. I guess he wants to see the reaction. It's that fat belly, the balloon belly. Yeah, I don't. They're eating too much. All right. Here we go. In any case, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com and follow me on Twitter at podfeet. In fact, this week would be a good week for some reviews. We're probably going to be mostly interviews next week because we're going to be at CES all week. So if you want to do a review, that's cool too. Check out the NosillaCast Google Plus community. Have I mentioned we have a NosillaCast Google Plus community? It's at podfeet.com/Google Plus. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, we had a huge party in there today. We have people from all over the world. It was super fun. Head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Bye, Haley. I sure hope you feel better soon. When are they going to get you those new lungs? We need them to move out on that. All right, 31 minutes. All right, I need to take, what is that? I named that. That's in. Oh, you going? Bye, Nurse. All right. Now I got to edit this. I got to take the intro and take that to track, shift track. What is the keystroke for shift track, Dan? I would really like to know what that is. Oh, shoot.
Don't tell me you weren't recording the entire
No. Everything's recorded. I just forgot.
What'd you forget?
I forgot to move the intro music, the first chunk over before I recorded all the following pieces. Remember, I can't slide a whole track. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can. Oh, I want to move it. Where's that? I might be able to. Just a second. Now that I think about it. Off to golf before sundown. Wow. 02. If I sound. No, track. Did Dan say what it was yet? Because I know where the menu is, but shift track. That's what I want. 02. That wasn't it. Where did it go? That's really far. So that went to 2 minutes. How do I do shift track, sound, shift, track, shift track, more sausage being made. So I want, wait, maybe if I did 02 seconds. Nope. 2 minutes. What does seconds look like? Maybe I need track. What do you think? How do you write that? Shift track. Okay. 00 seconds 002. Nothing. Oh, Steve, come here a second. What would this?
Are you trying to lose your audience?
No, I'm trying to do something.
All right. I'll be right there.
All right. I need to see. Are we wrecking Alpha Geek Radio, by the way? Because we're past 6 o'clock.
No one is live.
Okay. So I can take a track. So this is selected, and I can say track, shift track.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, so what I want is I want to move it to right there, which it said was, if I bring my cursor right there, I want to bring it to right there. It says that's 02 seconds, right? It says 00, 1 tick mark, 02, 2 tick marks.
Right. So
if I take this track and it's selected and I say track, shift track, and I say 00, whatever that is, 002 seconds, watch what happens.
000. You have to.
Oh, no, it just did it.
Okay.
Okay, so I hadn't put the 00 in front of it before. That's what did it.
The minutes.
Yeah, look at that. It all slid together. Yay! I just solved a problem.
Sure? Check the back end just to make sure.
No, look, that's lined up. This would be a good one to check.
Okay.
Oh, no, this didn't move because it's not on the same track. That's why. But yeah, if you look at any of the...
you have to realign anything not on that track.
Yeah. But that's the only other thing.
Oh, that's your little recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. All right. So I better check this.
Yeah, check the...
Well, actually, let me check the beginning first and make sure I like it. Oh, for crying out loud. I like that I can grab that little window. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. A technology
the beard is shrinking.
With an ever so slight Macintosh
Is your beard
bias.
shrinking?
Today
No, I think it's just turning white.
3rd, 2016.
Oh, maybe it's turning white though. It is
556.
No, blonde.
Well, it's that time
It's
of year
turning
again,
blonde,
time
he
to
says.
troop off to see January 3rd, 2016, and this is show number 556. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Now let me check this and see how this intersection sounds. Oh, I'm so excited. I figured that out. My regular recording setup. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with
when I drink, I could do
slight
this.
Macintosh bias. Today is Friday, January 1st, 2016, and this is a test recording. What? Ah. What? Why is it? What? Okay. What? Hi. Oh, love a Pete. I don't always understand how to play this. Big setup. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
Bye, Sybil.
Technology geek.
Everybody can be dismissed. They like
the test recording. Well, why does it? Oh, it's because that's selected. That's why. Test recording. Well, this is funny. It sounded a lot different to me. All right, I am going to excuse the audience because I am now just making sausage. But if you want to stay, you are welcome to stay. I think I said this was 35 minutes long. So sound. I never saw from Dan. Did anybody see? Did Dan send me the? I want to know how to shift track. I need to do that a lot. So I want to do that. I want to learn to do that with. Not 35. All right, no, it's supposed to be at 31. Okay. All right. Track shift. I like this. All right. That's not what I meant to do. Oh, that's weird. Why did it do that?
I think I may give up the Alpha Geek channel.
Oh, yeah, I would, because this is not as interesting.
This is not quality. All right. In the spirit of quality
okay. So you go back
content on Alpha Geek, we're gonna quit this.
Come on. This thing just keeps getting farther away. Hang on. Undo. Okay, that time it's only 5 off. Yeah, maybe I should let everybody go. Bye, parents. Bye, sweetie. Bye, Ghiblies. Shift track. Okay, I'm gonna go backward by 5. Right? There we go. Okay. That's what I wanted to do. What are you laughing about? Your heavy breathing into the mic is all I know. NosillaCast castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. This audio is going to sound a lot different, Steve. All right, I am calling it. I'm hanging up on the Google Hangout. Goodbye, everybody. Where's the button? There it is.
It's just